Hey you, Meowkaiser coming at you today with another video. This time I wanted to talk about some things that aren't explained really well by archbears. A lot of it either has to do with poor translation or just poor visibility, right? So there's a lot of things in the index I want to talk about that isn't explained really well, right? So if we look at the search rules, it says when you tap or click the center screen, consume 3 stamina and search the current area for roughly 1.5 seconds. Search phase if unsuccessful, moves to the next phase. This isn't really clear what this means. Basically what it means is it checks the first one, right? Sees if you can find the main computer research center only. If it can't do this, it goes to the next step. It checks if you step on a trap with a 50% chance, and then it goes to the next step. It checks for the enemy, and then it checks for a wild animal, then it checks a corpse, and then it checks an item, and then it checks for if you get experience, right? So the way this works, right, is that, and the reason why the order is important, right, is let's say if I place a trap, right, let's say that these two were switched, right, you would first have to fail finding an enemy, which means that, you know, you roll the 30% and then you roll the 50%, but the fact that you run the 50% first means that the game checks to see if you step on the trap before it decides to give you a player to attack, right? It's the reason why you see players also before you get animals, items, experience, and corpses, well, sometimes. Keep in mind that if you've never found a corpse before, you get it's a 35% chance to find it, and if it's somebody you killed before, it's a 10% chance. So this is a good thing to keep in mind. It's part of the reason why you want to be actively searching for corpses. The game wants to make it easier for you to loot the corpses. Excuse me. As I was saying, so another thing that's AB removed is a lot of the little passive indicators. This used to be really handy for letting newer players know how certain items work. Now this is no longer the case, right? So one of the things that's not explained very well is that Axe of Pangu actually has an 11% defect rate. It says plus 9%, but you know, you have the base 2%. And that's just designed so that you can get this ability off. What else do I want to mention? Dan's Leaf is also not explained very well. You also get plus 8% damage taken. So 48 stat attack blade is nothing to scoff at, as well as a really nice passive, right? But you have to keep in mind, you do take 8% extra damage. If you stack this thing, obviously you probably win, but still, you have to keep in mind that this thing does have a drawback. Also, a lot of people forget that this thing has a base minus 3% accuracy. Some people be like, oh, I'm SS, why did I miss? I was like, yeah, you actually have 97% accuracy. Let's see, I don't think there's too much else around here that needs to be explained. I mean, Red Muffler also has an increased defect rate, but we don't actually know the exact number because they don't tell us. I don't know why. I could be wrong about that. It might be just written somewhere, but I don't see it. What else? Gun, bow. I think that's good for that. What I really wanted to cover are weapon counters, right? So Imperial Crown, this one's actually explained really well, right? How it reduces damage by weapons that are below epic quality, so below purple, right? But what this doesn't tell you is you have to actually pull this up in index or you can't see this. You get minus 10% damage taken by blade when you have this helmet versus this helmet, which has minus 10% damage taken by stab. These are design counters that you'll be building based on whoever you think is strong in the lobby. Head doesn't have any more counters. For clothes, you have Battle Suit, which does minus 7% damage taken by range. If you combine that with Battle Boots, it's a total minus 10%. Excuse me. A lot of people forget this thing exists, so I think I'll mention it. This decreases trap damage taken by 50%. If you expect a trap soul to be trouble in your lobby, it's actually worth it to go out of your way to make EOD suits, or even replace your current clothes for an EOD suit. This doesn't mention the plus 3% crit rates. These all used to be passives, as I mentioned earlier, so it's better that we go through this. This has plus 44 max health, plus 25 max health, and you didn't see me do that. Where'd he go? Rocker's jacket has, oh, well, that one's actually mentioned explicitly, but this one has minus 10% damage taken by hand. Is this mentioned? Yeah, minus 20% crit damage taken. This all used to be mentioned. I don't know why. It's worth your while to go through and actually like try to read all these. Oh, and, you know, chance to find enemy plus 10%. This is very rarely relevant, but hey, it's there. For arm, this is the one with minus 10% damage taken by blunts. Everything else. Oh, well, this also has character attack damage plus 5. I don't know why this isn't a passive anymore. There used to be a little passive indicator that would tell you, but you know, who needs to actually understand how the game works? This, like, when I say passive, it used to display in the bottom left corner your passives, and you would know at all times what effects you had available. But now I have to tell you, you know, because who cares about visibility? I've talked about this before, plus 3% lifesteal, and then this is minus 3 damage when attacked. This also has plus 7% crit damage. I know a lot of new players have seen this boots, and they don't understand why this just randomly has less armor than this. So yeah, that's the reason why. It has increased crit damage. And then for accessories, this is one that a lot of people don't know. This doesn't have any built-in damage reductions. Most items have built-in damage reductions, so this is minus 3, right? So purple is usually minus 3, orange is usually minus 4, blue is minus 2. You know, on the topic of that, Uchiwa is minus 5. This used to be a passive as well, but, you know, they don't tell you this anymore. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. Oh, and of course, Dice of Destiny. It doesn't tell you that it increases crit rates and decreases crit damage. So that's the reason why a lot of people rush it. Do they tell you for Pirate Flag? They don't even tell you for Pirate Flag, man. Why don't they tell you what these things do? Yeah, plus 15% crit damage. So that's another thing to keep in mind. A lot of these things are just straight up not mentioned at all. Why? I have no clue why. What else comes to mind? Oh, there's one that I discovered recently, right? And it's specifically with Dial-In. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but here, let me just go into a match real quick. Oh, I don't want a normal game. I don't want to... We'll just do this. I actually mentioned this to Blue Birdie, and we're going to put this on the wiki. But so basically, Dial-In can, it says Dial-In can use hand, blunts, or blade, right? What it doesn't tell you is that she starts with a little bit of extra mastery, right? So she starts with extra hand mastery, but if you look at blade, it's at a flat amount, so you know it's no extra mastery there and no extra mastery here. Why that's the case, who knows? I'm gonna have to spend 100 gold on that later. This is another thing that AB doesn't tell you. Why? I have no clue. Easiest second place in my life. So if you actually look at Dial-In's page, right? Where is she? Of course I can't find her now that I want to find her. Here she is. It doesn't tell you anywhere that hand has more mastery. Now the game does automatically put on the mastery that you have most mastery for, so that you'll use the one that character's naturally strongest with, but it doesn't tell you that Dial-Ins will always pick hand because she always has more in hand. I've tested this enough to know that this is the case. It took me like, what, 600 gold? Wasting gold just to make sure mechanics in the game that they didn't tell us about. Ugh. Why? Who knows why? There's another thing they don't tell you about. This was in the patch notes. It's not written anywhere in the game, but basically every time you craft a new weapon, right? So let's go to hands, right? So when you start with this, okay, I didn't want to put in bookmarks. You didn't see that. So when you start with Knuckle, it has the regular 2% defect rate, right? When we upgrade it to Iron Knuckle, we get the first 15 hits for free, and then it starts checking to see if it'll defect. Same goes for when we upgrade it again. It'll give us the next 15 hits for free, and then it'll start checking that 2% chance to defect. For those of you who don't know, if you create a new weapon, so like let's say my Iron Knuckle defected, right? And then we go and turn our defected Iron Knuckle into Wing Knuckle, it'll lose defect. So that's another way to play around it. And then same thing when we upgrade to Blood Wing Knuckle, you get the first 15 hits for free. This is explicitly mentioned, but a lot of people don't check. Gun and Bow have 1% defect rates, while all melee masteries have 2% defect rates. And Crude Glove can't defect. Crude weapons don't defect. I don't know why they don't tell you. I think they do tell you, but it's not there. I think there's like one more thing that I'm probably forgetting. I'll probably just like leave it in the comments or something. Oh yeah, I remember now. So they don't tell you in game that if you right click this thing while you have a blade, you'll use it and it'll increase the weapon damage by 1. I believe it has like a chance to defect it. Meteor Steel is the same thing. It doesn't even tell you this, because something could happen to it. It doesn't even tell you the rate. I think like the max is 3, but it could also do absolutely nothing. I believe it's in the index actually, where it tells you the I actually might not even tell you how any of this works, does it? I don't think it's in here. I probably should have checked before the video, but I'm pretty sure it's not in here that the whetstones enhance your damage. Yeah, I don't see anywhere in here that whetstones enhance your damage. If I'm wrong, you know, you can feel free to laugh at me in the comments, but I'm fairly certain that this doesn't happen. Yeah, I'm gonna check with the wiki and I'll leave. Actually, I'll check right now. I'm fairly certain that whetstones can defect your weapon. Whetstone, Black Survival Wiki. It used to be the case where you could just automatically defect it and then you just cry. Okay, never mind. It used to do that. I guess they took it away. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Anyway, thanks for watching my guides, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.